Hi! So, here's the story so far on DnD. We were on a train, and we were sitting in a compartment, and then we looked over and we saw Seth and the pain demon. No, sorry, Seth. We saw Seth. Turns out he is a pain demon, or he's a pain demon that looks like Seth. We don't know yet, but he was with that guy who we thought was Satan, but apparently there's more than one of that. We fought them, killed the soul harvester. Seth managed to get away, and there were these like blob things that killed the driver of the train and a lot of passengers, and the train derailed. We survived, killed some of the blobs. I forgot to mention that at this point Meepo went missing, so holy shit, right? The rest of the gang went there, they fought like a giant wolf, they killed it, Emily stole its skin away as a kind of cloak slash dress. There was a big hole, Meepo was down there, and that's where we met Yukiona, kind of like this ice queen kind of lady. She had Meepo and wouldn't really give him back to us because she didn't like people. Like, she had imprisoned some people. She said they were evil, so she froze them perpetually. They became these like cursed cold ones where if it got cold they would freeze in ice. That's why, hey, it's so cold in this region. Her spell was wearing off, so she was like, oh well, go and kill these cold ones. So we did. We went to this cave. Yeah, so there was this like ice lance, and we removed it, and they came to life, and they were like, oh, Yukiona imprisoned us, so we decided to not kill the cold ones, go back, and we ended up more or less killing Yukiona. The spell broke, her polar bears died, and we basically created global warming. Anyway, the whole big part of this story was the maiden, who was this spirit who was reincarnated every generation in the form of a young girl, and she protected the town from evil. And it was Christmas, and all these women were pregnant. The town got attacked by a horde of demons, and a skull lord, and an undead raven, eagle, falcon, vulture thing. We led a hag into the palace, and she plunged her long fingernails into the mother, who was giving birth to the actual maiden. That killed her and the baby, and Jordan spent the majority of the rest of that particular adventure doing a cesarean and then trying to bring the baby back to life, and then it didn't work. And then we got attacked by a white dragon, and you know, shit went down. It wasn't really what should have happened. I mean, it was the 24th, it was Christmas Eve. We basically prevented the birth of Jesus. But the baby, with its dying wish, turned the dragon into dust and sent the whole village and the surrounding area 50 years into the future. But it wasn't just the future, it was also a different plane, the plane of air, so that the whole village was kind of like an island that was sealed off with this force field around it, that no one could get through it. So it was very much an isolated place in time. So we got there, and there was this guy called Scott, and I was like, oh, Scott, that's an attractive name. But Scott had a huge crush on TJ, as you would, despite the fact that, you know, he's like, what, this big, and like, alright, so he's got an axe. Big deal. I mean, I can grow wings and throw fireballs, and anyway, so Scott was telling us that basically the maiden is still present. She didn't die, she's here. But Scott, his dad, died fighting the maiden because he believed that the maiden had created some kind of link, keeping this whole island in the future. And if we managed to break that link, we would be able to bring ourselves back. It turns out the maiden was actually taking people who were injured, people who were dying, and basically turning them into mummies and removing their pain. They would live forever as these mummies, and they were quite happy, but they were mummies, you know, I mean. So Scott was like, I want to try and break this link, but there's a ship in the sand. You go there. So yeah, we went down into the bowels of the ship. We got some treasure. We got attacked by these
chests, these two treasure chests with like arms coming out of them, and they grappled me as usual, because I just, you know, blindly walk into stuff all the time. And then we fought another one of those giant spiders and another web mummy, and then we carried on down the ship. There was this room, and there were two cold ones there with, no, not two, three cold ones with crossbows, and there was a skull lord with these watery eyes, and he was the link, because it turned out what the maiden had done was that she had, in trying to protect the town and sending it 50 years into the future, she had to like access the negative energy plane, and that had like created a rip, and to create this link, and she had brought like a bone skull lord through, and she used him as the link. So yes, there was him, and there was the cold ones, and then there was this big pit in the middle with this big like kraken octopus creepy thing. It's called a crawling apocalypse, and apparently that was for us undefeatable, so it's probably a really good job we decided to not stick around and try and fight it. Instead, the Skull Lord told us that if we killed the maiden, he would be able to transport us back. I don't know why we decided to trust a Skull Lord and not the maiden, but we did. So we went to find her. Scott got the mummy rot, so it was starting to turn to dust. And we got to this place, and there were all these like children mummies and mummy mummies, and they were all playing hopscotch and seemed happy, and they were, but you know, it's no way to live. And there was Saren there, and Saren was like, well, my wife, you know, TJ killed Saren, accidentally chopped his head off. And I think after about talking for half an hour, we decided to kill the maiden. And then we did, and then while she was regenerating, we went back outside. The crawling apocalypse was attacking the town, and Scott was just like, oh, don't worry, I'll fight it. So yeah, then we went to the thing. Yes, we killed the cold ones, killed the Skull Lord, and he died, and all that was left were these two eyes, these two blue watery eyes. We crushed them, and that sent everything back into the future. I mean, the mummies died, and the maiden was dead, and Saren was dead, and we killed a whole village. But, you know, I feel like we did the right thing. Scott became mayor of the town, but he decided to come with us, so now we have an archivist on the team, and that is where the story ends, and that is where the story will pick up next week. Next week we are playing D&D again on Tuesday. You're all invited. We're all level 6 now, so we've all got some cool new things. Jordan, you've got some new spells, and most of you are starting to walk into your prestige classes. I know Ricardo's already done yours, boys. You're basically just ridiculously badass now. So come along. Obviously we're on Facebook here, so there's place to leave messages. So leave some messages. Let me know if you can come, and I'll set a playset for you with the paper and the pen and a little figurine, and yeah, please come.